please.
All right, we're good.
We're good?
Yeah, I gotta. Good to go.
Okay. Switching it up on everybody today, I'm sitting over on this side so we can show Mike's better half. So first things first, we just had an executive meeting prior to going on this. We're thinking of calling the show Sobriety Rocks. So if you're watching out there, what do you think of Racing for Recovery, Sobriety Rocks, success story show, something like that? So let us know what you think about that. Today, we are pleased and honored to have Mr. Mike Ward on. Mike, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So I was thinking of an opening question to ask you, and this is the one I came up with. I would like to know, and I want you to share with everybody who's watching, what was your life like prior to coming to Racing for Recovery? Who was Mike Ward, and what was your life like?
My life was kind of filled with a lot of bad decisions, a lot of substance abuse for a good 20 plus years, around 25 years. It was hard to get through everyday life, just struggling, isolating myself. Didn't have a whole lot of people that were trying to get me on the right path or anything. Had to make this decision on my own. But I'm grateful to have finally found the right path after so many years, but it's not a life that I wish upon anybody. And I hope that, through this program and people that watch and everything with our meetings and everything, that they can really, truly understand what we go through on our end.
So tell me, did you have a future in mind when you were using? Were you even cognizant of, I'm going to be doing such and such in 10 years? What was the future like for you?
I didn't see any kind of future, not at all, because the only future in my addiction was getting my next fix and my next high. That's the only thing that I seen.
Not financially. What did your choice to use drugs, what did it cost you?
It cost a lot. It almost cost my relationship with my mother and one of my younger brothers on my mom's side. It was hard, and I really, truly was in a dark place, and financially I really hurt my mom, and I know emotionally I really hurt her because of what I had done to her.
So I want you to talk about the day that you were coming go over to Arrowhead to detox, and because you brought this up at the 8 o'clock support group meeting this morning, and I was touched by how you were speaking about that. Can you share with the viewers, like, what happened and what was going through your mind when you're driving over by yourself from Tiffin, right? Mm-hmm. From Tiffin. So what's that? You wake up, you make the decision. What's that like? And then describe your drive over to Arrowhead with what was on your mind.
Yeah, I knew for a couple of days because of the things that I had done to my mother and my family. And I have 2 daughters, which I know it hurt them a lot, but I knew for a couple of days I was going to do it. I drove myself up in my own car. And while I was driving, I kind of had that mindset that, yeah, I'm going to get off of the heroin, which was my drug of choice at the time. I was sitting there thinking, yeah, well, maybe I'll just go back to drinking a little bit here and there, and even considered, the cocaine, which I used to abuse years and years ago. But the more I sat there and thought about it, it's like, what would be the point? You know, why come up here and detox off of one drug and then choose to go back and abuse another one? Because that's what it would do. All I would be doing is going back to where I started years ago and then probably end up right back on that path of just completely destroying everything around me.
So this, and I'm learning more about you today as well. And one of the things that I know a little bit about, but I'd like you to talk about when you left Arrowhead, what was the process? Because this is where you found Racing for Recovery. So can you enlighten me and again, tell the viewers, like, what was going through your mind then? Because I had thought that you were leaving Arrowhead and you didn't really know where to go, and then somehow you found us. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I was in Arrowhead, and I knew that 5 days was not going to be enough. That's, you know, like when I'm getting ready to leave, my mom asked me, she's like, so how long are you going to be gone? You know, you think you'll be back in like a week or so? And I said, I'm not really too sure. So while I'm in Arrowhead, I'm trying to figure things out because, like I said, the 5 days was just not going to be enough. So they mentioned the partial hospitalization program, which they put me in the hotel across the street. And I was doing that, and I met a few people, and I met a wonderful person that comes here, also Kat, and she brought up Racing for Recovery. And also I seen Todd Bieber in one day. He was promoting the place or talking about it, letting us know how it is, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'm across the street doing my partial hospitalization program. I'm kind of GPS, and I'm trying to figure out where the place is at. So like 2 or 3 days goes by, and as I'm leaving one day, I said to myself, wow, it's actually right across the street from where I'm at. So I kind of feel like I was still blinded and still not completely detoxed all the way, because, you know, if you're coming to and from 2 or 3 times a day, and it took me that long to realize that it was right there.
That's funny. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So laughter's a part of what we do, you know. So you come over, and I assume you talked to Dan first or whatever. So you're walking into our building for the first time. Now what's going through your mind? What are you thinking?
Well, I knew what I was looking forward to was, you know, that new beginning. It's kind of funny because when I came over with the roommate I had at the time, we was trying to figure out which door to walk into, and then I walked in the side door back here, and we just kind of walked in, and then I figured, well, the office is that way. We went in and sat down and told Dan my situation and everything, and we had a great conversation. You know, it lasted a little while, and it seemed like just from walking into that room and seeing the atmosphere in there, the difference, you know, it wasn't coming in with people in suit and ties and kind of like having somebody say, are you lost? Are you supposed to be here? Mm-hmm. It was just like Dee's poem says, it was open arms.
Yeah.
They welcomed me right in and right away introduced me to this place, to Racing for Recovery.
I love hearing you describe us like that, because what I'm hearing from you is you were being talked to as a person, exactly. Not a drug addict, but a person in need that we were able to provide some service for. Is that an accurate statement?
Very accurate, and that's the way everybody gets treated around here.
That's right. So you're coming in, I assume you get some, I don't like using that word assume, but correct me if I'm wrong, I would be thinking, wow, okay, I have some relief of knowing I have a place to stay, going to get exposed to a new way of sustaining sobriety that I haven't done. Can you talk a little bit about the process of what your recovery has been like since you've been involved with Racing for Recovery?
It's had its ups and downs. It's just like number 3 on the 4 big ideas here is you're not immune to life's hardships, obviously. I mean, it kind of started my first actual day out of Arrowhead. My battery died in my car. I had no clothes. So I had to go through that process. I knew I was looking for a long road ahead. And the road's going to continue for many, many years. But first coming into it, I'm not from here. I'm not familiar with around here. I didn't have friends or whatever by my side, no family. But just within the first day or two, I knew that this was going to be somewhere that I could fit in. And that's with anybody that's walked through this door. I feel that within a matter of minutes, there's, even if you're looking lost or anything, there's always somebody that's walking up to you to ask you, "Hi, how you doing? My name's such and such." I've battled a lot of stuff. I mean, I had stuff going on back home, which I've renewed relationships with my little brother, with my family. Everybody's so proud. A few things good have happened, like with my father. He actually quit smoking because he knew that I got healthy.
Wow.
And that's a huge thing, with my father dealing with his health issues and everything. And a few weeks into it, which actually goes back to last year, I noticed I had problems in my eye. And being in my addiction, my addiction had me so wrapped up that I was not seeking medical assistance, which I needed for it because I was losing vision in my eye. So I go to a retina specialist and they tell me that you could possibly have cancer. So then I had to take the next step, go to Cleveland Clinic, which I found out that I did have cancer in my left eye. And I was hurt over it, but I knew that being sober, being involved in Racing for Recovery, with having all the support with the people around me, family, it helped me get through it and realize that it has to be done. If you don't get it done, it could take your life. And I had the procedure done, and right away walking in, I told all the doctors, every doctor that I've seen, I told them, I said, I am in recovery, and my recovery is very vital to me. So if you're going to offer any kind of pain medicine, I don't want it. And they were very touched by it, and they said, we will make sure that that doesn't happen. So a few weeks back, I did have my left eye removed because of cancer, but the thought of even using at the time or trying to numb myself like I used to do all the time, I never even considered it, not once. And it's being in here and having the support with you and everyone around here that it keeps me going, it keeps me strong. And my main focus is I don't want people to think, oh, poor him, he lost the eye, I don't see how he's doing it. I want people to know that no matter what they're going through, drugs and alcohol are not the answer, and you can get through it.
Jeff Herman sitting in here was another success story we had, and Todd's over there running the video stuff, and I'm sure I can speak for them. What you've endured with that whole process of losing your eye and stuff and doing it with no medication, sustaining sobriety is so motivating for us that are privileged even to know you. I was back in the gym with you guys today, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm like, oh, this is tiresome or whatever, and I look around and I'm like, Mike doesn't have an eye, and Frankie's over there with one arm. And it brings that humility back, right? It's empathy for you, great gratitude that my limbs and my eyes work, and then it makes you humble just being in your presence. And I just personally want to thank you for just being you and doing what you're doing, because it's motivated the heck out of me, and I know I'm not speaking just for myself. But there's one thing I want you to share too. I remember when you were trying to schedule appointments and you had a ride and it fell through or whatever. Can you talk about the support of other members of Racing for Recovery who helped you through that process?
Yeah, it's having to have a driver because of the dilation of my eyes and everything. They told me I needed a driver. Miscommunication on the first one, but then all I had to do was reach out I believe one person, and that person got a hold of another person and another person. So I didn't have to go into my surgery alone. I knew my mother was going to be there. My mother came and her best friend, but I had Desi with me, Randall with me, Jordan with me, and it made things so much better knowing that I had my support from here coming also. And that's one thing that I wanted to happen. And I think it made it a lot easier for me going into that day, because they all three kept, I think they were more nervous than I was. But I knew that having them great people by my side, that I could easily get through it. And then just like with my follow-up appointments, all I got to do is reach out, ask somebody, and it's not a sad road trip. We make it fun and interesting.
Absolutely. Do you, Todd, any questions so far?
Well, Jordan had asked one, and I knew Mike would get to it, so I just said, how did you feel for Mike to have support through his surgery, and how did you get through without using? I knew you'd get to that, so kind of played right into it. Just a lot of awesome comments, supporting you and how much of an inspiration you've been to people in your struggle and the strength you've shown through it. It's truly awesome, Mike.
This is funny, and I love laughing in here as we do it. Share with everybody about when you, one of the first things you asked the doctors, when they were talking about the recovery process, one of the first things that was on your mind, share that with everybody.
Yeah, the first thing that actually came to my mind when two doctors were in the room with me talking. They told me that it was cancer and that I was going to be losing my eye and I would have a recovery process. And they knew that I really enjoy working out because it's kind of like my new thing, and I want to be healthy. Well, as soon as they tell me that I had to take 2 weeks off from the weights, I kind of looked at them and I said, "Are you telling me I can't lift for a couple weeks?" And the doctors just kind of looked at me kind of strange, and they're like, "Well, that's a really good attitude to have, that's like one of the first things that popped in your head."
Right. Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
I'm back at it.
Back at it. Yep. So I want you to talk about the tattoo you got, what it means to you. Do that.
I don't know if anybody can really see it, but yeah, this place is, it's inspirational to me. Racing for Recovery helps so many people in so many ways. It's not just drug addiction or alcohol abuse, or it's so many different things. And I knew that it would be something that would inspire me and keep me going and everything, because most of my tattoos have meaning behind them. They may look like crap, some of them look good, but there's always a meaning behind it.
Yep.
And this right here is the constant reminder that I'll never go back to drugs and alcohol, and that Racing for Recovery and everybody that is involved here helps so much with people.
How did that even come to fruition? You had come to me and asked a question about it, but what was even going through your mind about getting that on your hand? Because it was your hand you were talking, right? So talk about that for a minute.
I think I always feel like, to me, God has a plan for everybody, and for some reason there was nothing ever put there. And once the whole cancer thing kind of got to me, that's when it really popped in my head. I'm like, I think that would be the perfect time, perfect place for it. And I want people to know that this awesome place is what has helped me get through everything. There's a lot of meaning behind it.
That's awesome. What'd the guy ask you if it was a stamp the other
Yeah,
day?
I was actually asked the other day if it was a stamp in our ILP class, and I said, no, it's real.
That's classic. So what, if somebody new is walking through that door right now and comes up to you and says, hey man, tell me what I can expect to get out of Racing for Recovery with the educational groups, the support groups, just everything. Can you summarize what you would say to that person walking in here?
I think first of all, I would let them know that they're gonna get their life back. There's so much more to the program than someone telling you, you have to do this in order to get to this place. You have to do this to get to this place. You're gonna learn how to live your life again. You're gonna learn how to love yourself again. You're gonna learn how to support others. It's the main thing is getting your life back on track. You know, you're gonna feel welcomed in here. You should never feel uncomfortable in here. If there's any questions that you have to ask, you know, we're all here to help you. Every single one of us.
What does the future for you look like on a personal level? And are you having any visions of what you're going to be doing through our program here?
I guess right now I am trying to keep it basic, because I guess it falls back into me never really plan stuff, because through so many years, every time I plan something, it never seems to work out. But of course, one of my main goals is becoming an actual father to my daughters, because it's hard to talk about, but you know, my daughter's going to be 12 and 10 this year, and I pretty much feel that the whole time, all 12 and 10 years of their lives, that I haven't really been there. So I have a lot of work to do to get back building my relationship with my daughters. I know that they love me unconditionally, no matter what. You know, no matter what they hear, or, you know, how often they see me, they always love they always love me. Mm-hmm. They always tell me that. But, you know, like I said, one of my main goals is to maybe one day talk to others, you know, tell my story, tell my success, you know, how I've become a you know, so much better of a person, you know, and no matter what you're going through, that, you know, you can get through it. You know, even if you have to, you know, reach out. If you know, you can't do it by yourself, there's always someone there that's going to help. You know, I want to get back into work, you know. I'd like to really get into something where I get to help others. I think I could really make a big impact in some way or another on giving back, you know, what was basically given to me.
I love it.
Because I've taken for granted so much in my life. I think I need to start giving back to people.
You know, we talk about three words. Empathy, humility, and gratitude are, I know they're the foundation of everything I'm fortunate enough to have and do in my life. Can you talk about how those three words go around your head every day? Like what they mean to you, how you're seeing them?
Obviously it's a change, because I don't think I've ever really even knew them words. I think I knew they existed, but I don't think I ever knew them, understood them. It's through that it makes me feel more of a man, because especially being grateful. There's so much that's given to people through Racing for Recovery, that if someone can't feel gratitude while they're here, then something's going on that that they need to speak up about. Because I used to, like I said, all I did was take things for granted. I was never grateful for anything. The only thing I was grateful for was getting my drugs, and that was it. I mean, I still got a lot of growing to do, but being humble, you know, and having that empathy and that gratitude, it's making me grow a lot more, and I understand them a lot more now.
Awesome.
I never really understood that.
Wow. Question, Todd?
Mike did have a question. Somebody asked if, have you always been honest with your daughters, or did you keep your addiction in early recovery from them?
Great question.
My addiction was always kept from them, that's for sure. I don't think they ever knew about it personally. It was brought up to their attention because a little over 2 years ago I did have an overdose, and they were told about it. I don't really know if they grasped it or really understood it. They are very smart young ladies, but I don't think they really totally got it. But I think once I came up here and decided to get into recovery, they were told about it. You know, I told my parents, which they did have a sit down right away with them and told them that Daddy's getting help. They didn't really go into details, you know, about everything, but I think they know. They knew that it had to do with drugs.
What's the greatest lesson or educational thing you can offer your daughters now as a sober individual? Having conquered your addiction, what is a positive message you can give back to your daughters?
Yeah, it's going to be one thing to sit down with them. They've seen a lot. They've seen a lot that what their father has not done. So I think one of the things that I would let them know is one of the reasons me and you girls haven't had that fun, had that life that we deserve is because of Dad's drug use. Drugs prevent you from achieving so much in life.
We have a lot of awesome people in here. I've seen some amazing friendships being built. And again, you know, my friend Jeff, who's in here, is now one of your friends and a peer supporter. When he read that letter from his daughter last night, the poem, which was awesome. And if you didn't see it, go back and watch last night's support group meeting. But you were sitting in here last night. Does any of that stuff that Jeff has now gotten back in his life with respect to his kids, are you equating that to some of the things that you're going through now with seeing a positive future?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it touched me. You know, he's read other things also before, and it hit hard last night. I mean, I had tears coming out because it's something I very well could have in my possession right now from my daughters that they would write about me, you know. And it's like I said, they're still young, so they don't really totally understand it, but the older they get, I may have to go through that myself. I can see it, you know, because like I said, there's so many years that I haven't been there. I kind of, like I haven't really been there for them since day one because of this drug abuse.
So, Todd, any more questions? I heard this once with somebody interviewing one of the guys in Metallica, so I'm going to close our interview with this. And I don't know what you're even going to say to this, but they asked one of the guys, they described the band's history, they said 30 years, blah, 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 describe it in one word. So, in one word, what can you say your experience at Racing for Recovery and your sobriety, everything that you've been doing, give us one powerful word that it describes it to you.
My word of choice would be riveting.
It's a good word. We're proud of you, Mike. Thanks for doing this for everybody.
Thank you guys very much.
Great job.